Hey guys, welcome back to my neck of the woods. My name's Dika, where I share my experience, my knowledge, hoping to lessen your learning curve. So today I am going to talk about some advice or tips and tricks or mistakes that I have made with my cellular cameras, helping to lessen your learning curve and hopefully make you more successful and not make the same mistakes I did. All right, before I get started, please sub my channel, like some of my videos, and make some comments. You know, I love the comments. So, first off, I'm just going to go through a little list of things that I have that are going to help you out. First off, with cellular cameras, and this kind of goes for regular cameras too, but with cellular cameras, it costs you money. It costs you money for your plans. So try not to set them up facing east or facing west. That's the sunrise and the sunset. So when the sun comes up or the sun goes down, the camera is going to trigger when the sun comes through the trees or through the canopy or whatnot, and it's just going to waste your money, so to speak, on pictures. So try not to do that. All you have to do is just angle it just a little bit, and it doesn't pick it up as much. But if it's directly at the sunset, the sun's going to come up through those trees or down through those trees, and it's just going to give little light variances, and it's going to trigger that camera to go off, and in fact waste your money and probably give you blank pictures. All right. Another thing you want to do is when you put it down is you want to account for the wind. You want to account for. So there's a big branch hanging here, and if the wind really blows, it's going to pull that branch down, and it's just going to trigger the camera over and over and over and waste all your money and your pictures. So what you can do is you can either move the camera to another location, or you can just break that branch off. Break it off so if the wind does blow, it's not going to just hang in front of the camera the whole time. This goes for regular cameras too, but you really have to be wary of this with cellular cameras because it's just going to cost you money. It's going to be a pain in the ass. That's what it's going to be. So what you can do is, if you do not, say you didn't catch that branch, right, and that camera is unattainable at that time, you can go into your application on your phone and you can change the settings. You can change the settings from high, medium, or low based on the trigger sensitivity, and that may save you some pictures there until the wind stops, and then you can put it back if you'd like. But that's a good one. That's going to save you a lot of money. Third, you want to use cellular cameras for what they're designed for. They're designed so to kind of set it and forget it. You want to put it in those kind of sensitive areas where maybe you think a buck's coming through, or you think some does are coming through. You think they're coming through a certain time of day, but you don't want to be in there stinking up the place checking your cameras all the time. So those are the places you want to put them. I use them as tools. I think a lot of people use them as tools where, so I use them a lot during season. I'll be putting them up all different places while I'm scouting during season to see if any movement has changed and trying to catch that big buck on camera, or even a doe or some other movement, coming to and from food or whatnot. But you want to put them in those areas because it's going to give you real-time data and intel on what's happening. So like say you're hunting one area in the morning, and then you look down and this one's triggered. Maybe you want to set up, maybe there's a big buck out in daylight, and maybe you want to set up in that area later that day with a blind or sticks or a saddle or whatever you want to do. Or maybe you have a stand there, So you want to use it in those locations. Locations that I don't use it in, and I think is a mistake, is over bait. You don't want to put your cellular camera over bait because it's just going to be click, 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 and you already know that they're there. One click that they come into the bait, that's fine, and then you know what's there. But like 4,000 clicks or pictures over bait is a waste of your money. I mean, by all means, if that's what you want and you're looking for that type of pictures, go for it. But you know as well as I do, it's just going to waste your money by just clicking the same picture over and over. It's just a deer in 47,000 positions while it's eating corn or apples or whatever it's eating, So you want to try to avoid putting it over bait. Another thing about cell cameras, and I think it's a misconception, is, and I learned this recently, and that kind of inspired me to make this video, is I have Verizon. I have Verizon on my phone. I can use a nationwide camera. I can use an AT&T camera. It doesn't matter. Although it may matter if that carrier gets a better signal in that area. So say you're out in the deer woods and you have a Verizon camera, right? And it's not getting a good signal. Maybe an AT&T camera will get a better signal on that, or a Nationwide, or another, usually it's Nationwide, AT&T, and Verizon for the most part. But you can use a different type of camera, hopefully, to get a signal in that area. So you can use that to your advantage. If you know that, like, if you have Verizon, right, and your phone doesn't work well in that area, chances are your camera is not going to work well in that area if it's a Verizon camera. But maybe an AT&T cell camera is closer to that area. You don't know. You can always change the configuration of your antenna and try that. But a lot of times, if your cell phone doesn't work excellent, then your camera isn't going to work excellent if it's the same carrier. Excuse me. So I want to wrap it up with a couple other things, though, and that is, if you have a cellular camera and it shoots video, you want to use video. Video is really, really good because it's going to give you so much more intel and recon on the decisions that deer made when it went by. So say the deer went by and it hit a scrape, or it hit a rub, or it just walked and maybe it looked over here for a little while. What was it looking at? It's just going to give you so much, or maybe a fawn walked behind it, or a buck walked behind it, or a raccoon walked behind it, or whatever. You're going to tell if something was in front of it or something was behind it. It's just going to give you so much more intel. Now, as far as locations, like I said, you don't want to put it over bait. You want to kind of put it in those sensitive areas where you think something's coming through, and you kind of want to set it and forget it. You really do. So say you put it over a high traffic area, right? And you don't get the pictures that you thought you were going to get. Maybe that high traffic area is later in the season, or mid-season, or when it rains, or when it's a certain wind, or some variant that we don't know. Give the camera a chance to perform the way it's supposed to perform. Because just going in and checking it and then moving it, that's a high traffic area for some reason, but you don't know when they're coming through. Which leads me to my next thing with cell cameras. So say you have multiple cell cameras, right? There's a certain piece of intel that you can get with cell cameras that you can't notice right away with with traditional cameras. And that's, so say I run close to, I think I got 15, 20 cell cameras now. I'm addicted to them, obviously. But when, like, say I've got 20 cell cameras running, right? And 15 of them go off kind of at the same time. There's a piece of intel there that you need to look up. You need to look up water temp. You need to look up temperature, or the wind, or is a storm front coming in, or the moon phase, or something. There's some variant as to why all those deer are moving at the same time. So, and you have to key in on that. You have to say, well, maybe the wind's a certain direction, and maybe they come through at this time. And it seems to happen more often. Your deer, or the deer, will move more often at the same times in all different places. It's really, really cool when it happens. So you'll get a bunch of cameras and you're like, man, I'm getting tons of traffic today on almost all my cameras. Why? Look it up. Look and see if there's a variant that is the same. And then when it happens again, say, oh, maybe it was the same wind, or maybe there's a storm front coming through, or maybe it was a really windy day, or maybe it was the waning, 90% waning crescent, or whatever it is. There's usually some variable that you can find, and then you can use that intel to make hunting decisions later. All right, so that's a good one. And the cell cameras give you great intel, and they help you keep better journals. If you keep journals, I keep journals on the deer with all that intel. And you can just write it down, and then you can just say, well, the waning crescent and the whatever wind is coming up, based on my past data that I've collected, I should get some activity. And maybe you do and maybe you don't. And then maybe there's another variable in there that, you're not aware of, What's another location? I think another location that you can put, I put cell cameras to, is your stand locations. It gives you an idea of what's happening at your stand when you're not there. So if deer are coming by your stand every single day at 5 o'clock, to get in there earlier to catch those deer coming in at 5 o'clock. Or maybe they're coming in just at last light or something like that. So it gives you a little more intel on how to get in there. And I just want to I just want to stop this, wrap up this video with batteries. A lot of people say, you know, don't use alkaline batteries or only use lithium batteries. I think it depends on the camera. I really do. I have SPY points and I have Moultrie Delta base. I use both of them. I'm switching more towards the Moultrie Delta base because I like them better. But I use alkaline batteries in them and they work just fine. And I don't take tens of thousands of pictures in them. But if you're one of those people that takes a lot of pictures or batteries are draining, you want to use an alternate source of power. And you want to spend the money to buy one of those solar hookups where you can hook it up to your cell camera. And that way you don't have to worry about batteries. It's going to save you money in the long run, especially if you're one of those people that run your cameras year round. I run mine mostly like the end of summer and then all through season. And then I go in and I take them down. But I don't believe that lithium batteries last that much longer compared to alkaline batteries. I know they cost a lot more, but in my experience, they don't last a lot longer. I mean, they last longer, don't get me wrong. They do last longer, but it's like comparing apples to oranges. You can't compare. They may last, I don't know, a month longer, but it depends on how much energy your camera is using. So they do drain alkaline batteries, but they still last a long, long time. And your batteries are constantly being drained because there's signals coming back and forth all the time. Every time it snaps a picture, it checks in with a Wi-Fi or a connection, and then it drains your batteries. All right, that's my advice, my tips and tricks about cell cameras. Hopefully it helps you folks out. Hopefully it gets you to save some money and get some more deer in your freezer or on your table. All right, that's all I got for you. Please subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Be well.